Hey guys, back again with a Teklovossen gameplay video that we're going to be reviewing with Talsharp. Today it's going to be Dash.io versus Teklovossen. Really interesting matchup. The matchup centers on Dash is trying to kill you with every card in her deck, and we are trying to be an immovable wall. So we're going to see how that ends up working out. This is against my friend. He has maybe 200 games into Teklovossen with me playing it, and I have maybe 100 games into Dash.io, so, really exciting stuff. Before we get into it, I'll talk really quickly about the different game plans that we're trying to both go after and the key cards to each game plan. First off, starting off, Dash.io. The key card to look out for is, of course, Maximum Velocity. Maximum Velocity is a 2 for 10 that if you've boosted 3 times, you can cast. So it's a chain ender in that sense. It gets really scary when you consider things like a double max V turn using extra action points, or the next card that we're going to talk about, which is Cerebellum Processor, which lets you draw an extra card, but it uses your action point. Luckily, Dio can't make any action points. No, but really, if she pulls it off the top of her deck, she can create an extra action point. This automatically draws a card for her. Not automatically, she triggers it, but what's really scary about this is when it happens 2 or maybe even 3 times in a turn cycle. That'll stick around for at least a turn. Really scary. And then finally, last card I really want to highlight is Polarity Reversal Script. It's kind of an odd choice for a lot of decks, but I think it's really good in this meta, and obviously he thinks it's really good too. Basically, if you block an attack that he sends, if it's an action, it gets -1. So it has the side effect of turning a 3 power card into a breakpoint, which is really interesting, right? It's a 5 power card is now a breakpoint, a 7 power card is now a breakpoint. Really interesting, really powerful. Essentially when Teklovossen is trying to block, you just don't block. Unless you have D-Reacts or Fiddler's Green or things like that, which gets really well into the Teklovossen side of things here. The strategy is fatigue. It's not fatigue trying to cast Singularity, it's just fatigue. He's going to burn through his deck trying to kill us, and so we're just going to try and hold down the fort with cards like Fiddler's Green to block breakpoints. Obviously, gaining extra life into a deck that's trying to just be a fireball and kill you is pretty powerful. Another key card here is actually Pummel. You might be like, it's an aggressive matchup, you're trying to be defensive, why would Pummel be valuable here? It's because any card that we can take out of his hand is destroyed. It's basically out of the game, and so that's damage that his deck can't do to us. For instance, if we force him to destroy a Maximum Velocity, that's 10 damage that we didn't need to block, we didn't take as life damage, etc. There are a few other cards that you're going to see as we go through, but really, anytime we have the opportunity to destroy a card, we're going to take that opportunity, because it's damage that we're not taking. So let's get into it. All right, so I actually go first here. All right. Yeah, so pretty lucky start. You are always happy to see an Evo piece on the first turn as Teklovossen. It's like starting the game with an extra 6 life, which is amazing. For free, free. But yeah, definitely super happy with that. You'll actually notice that I'm on Quick Dodge Flexors. Quick Dodge Flexors is a really interesting card in this matchup because it has a defense value, which means he could T-bone us, turn 1 or turn 0. If he does that, it's just an armor piece that blocked 2 for us, which most other heroes get away with. It's only Teklovossen that has the silver spoon that's like, my armor needs to block 7 to be efficient or whatever. The upside of quick dodge flexors is on turns that he wants to go 5, 6 chain links wide. Every blue that we convert with quick dodge is 6 damage that we blocked. So you can convert, a crazy 6 chain link turn. 1 piece of armor converted 2 blues into 12 block, which is really good. So let's get back into it. Yeah. So getting back into it, my plan for this turn, if I'm able to control it, and let's say he ended the turn right now, would be to cast these Evo arm pieces. Obviously he's going to try and pressure me. I might block in weird ways. For instance, I'm trying to keep the blues in my hand so that I can cast them. I'm trying to block very efficiently. That's the name of the game for beating Dio, is no extra point of block ever gets wasted in this matchup. Here he's sending 6, but I actually see that I can cast the Evo arm piece if I'm just a little patient here. I'm willing to take some damage just to have that Evo piece. It's actually not necessary. I might as well say this here. I might as well make it explicit. Like, you don't need equipped armor to beat Dio. I think that's a misconception when people say that. I've won games before where I haven't equipped a single piece of Evo armor before turn 5, turn 6. I've won games before where I've used every fabricate in my deck and I have 3 empty armor slots, not proto base armor slots, empty, like destroyed. So yeah, it's a misconception that you need it. Hey, sorry. I had to run away for just a second. Let me get back into it. Where were we? Alright, so we're trying to block very efficiently. He's presented a 5 with a twin drive, which boosts twice. We have a clean 5 block with our equipment. The reason why we aren't saving our equipment is because he's running cards like Fender Bender, which gain a ton of value from blocking equipment. So T-Bone obviously gains a ton of value from blocking equipment. We're not terribly worried. He could break all of our armor and we would still win the game just with cards that are in our deck that deal damage, like LCM, like War Machine, like CNC. He just won't be able to block anymore. We'll have more damage than he has life. So we're just going to try and block as efficiently as we can while we can. So we want to be in control instead of letting him be in control here. Yeah, so he's boosted twice. Pulse Wave Harpoon, it's a little bit annoying. I think the Tim who's playing the game here doesn't yet realize that he's going to pull a card out of our hands, because it doesn't always click when you're in the game that the Twin Drive counts as 2 boost, and then the Pulse Wave counts as 1 boost, and because it's a good card, it's 3 or less. It's not greater than 3, unlike the other Pulse Wave, which is worded slightly differently, which makes it worse. So he's going to grab a card of our hand. I think we're just going to pressure back with the CNC. Let's see. Tim's thinking a long time. It's okay. You're doing a great job, Tim. Yeah, just pressure him, some life damage. Something to note is it's not worth our time to pitch stack in this matchup because we're not going to get to the bottom of our pitch stack. By the time that we're at the bottom of our pitch stack, we're just going to be killing him. So if we make it there, it won't really matter. He's throwing an underloop at us. If it hits us, it goes on the bottom of his deck. We really don't want that. That's an easy block with a D-React. Luckily, Dio has almost no ways in her deck to pump something after it's been cast. The only one that comes to mind is Penetration Script that she could grab off the top of her deck with her hero power. But that's one card in her deck. It's pretty unlikely, and once we know that she has it, you get away with that once, but then it's face up. Most of the decks that I know are running between 1 and 2, sometimes 3, but yeah, so it looks like he's just going to take the rest of his turn to set up. So let me quickly talk about this here. He's got an Overload Script, which makes it so that all of his attacks have overpower for the rest of the turn. On his next turn, obviously. Teklo Core is going to make him 2-man at the start of his turn. That makes his entire turn pitchless, basically. And then he has a Protocol Red, which is going to make it so he can grab his strongest attack out of the graveyard. That could be like a Pulse Wave, or something that grabs a card out of our hand and is really annoying. So he's taking a setup turn. If we compare it to our hand here, I actually can't remember what I put into Arsenal. Let's go ahead and take a look at what Tim decides to do, and then we'll talk about it. Yeah, CNC would be really valuable here. And the reason why, obviously he has no arsenal for us to blow up. Totally fine, by the way. But this Pummel is going to get great work. A Dio with 3 cards in hand is maybe half as scary as a Dio with 4 cards in hand. And the same rule applies to a Dio with 5 cards in hand versus 4 cards in hand. Each card that Dio gets access to is multiplicative on her power level. So the fact that we can take a card out of her hand is really valuable. And then this turn it's just going to be a little bit more challenging to block because of the Overload Script. We really don't want to do anything else with our hand anyway. We would like to save this Shelter from the Storm, but if we can't end up saving it, that's okay. You're thinking a long time, Tim. I believe in you. Alright. Yeah, we really want to keep the Shelter from the Storm, even if we end up taking a little bit of damage. Yeah, and you can see I'm actually checking his graveyard and his banish zone here. It's important to keep note of if he has cast or banished any maximum velocity. Also, the T-bones can be useful to keep track of. The protocols can be useful to keep track of. The cerebellum processors, stuff like that. And yeah, we're just gonna Arsenal pass here. This hand, for us, the thing that we want to be doing is converting the Terminator tank. So we want to keep Terminator tank and something blue to pitch. It doesn't really matter which blue we keep. Yeah, he's gonna send a T-bone for 6 here. He actually grabs a cerebellum processor off the top with the boost and the BIOS update. We're just gonna get value out of our quick dodge instead of breaking one of our other armors. Might as well. And you can see here it's just a clean block. I pitched 1 blue. It's currently gotten me 2 value. He could end his turn right now, and it would be that value proposition I talked about, where it's just an armor that blocked 2 this game. Or if he's going to keep attacking me, it's going to keep getting more and more value. Yeah. I would love to put quick dodge in front of it. Thank you. Feels like you're doing me a favor there. Yeah, we haven't seen any boom grenades yet. Boom grenade is a pretty scary card if you're not covering up all of the attacks that he has access to. You can see he gets all the way up to 3 action points here with a cerebellum processor on the field. So that 3-card hand that we took a bite out of before. Imagine this hand, but with 4 cards. You know, he could be casting an extra card this turn, which would be devastating. You know, this is the kind of turn where it'll be lucky if I stay above 20 life, or, you know, if I get to keep my game plan going into my turn. This is the kind of thing where I will probably need to adapt my game plan. Well, having the boom grenade definitely takes the bite out of his turn, and then the zipper hit. This is just going to be an easy block with the quick dodge and the rally. This could have been a lot worse. He actually bricked here. He got really unlucky by drawing that item. I think that if that was a max fee, I think we would be saying something quite different. Again, we're just going to take the bite out of his turn here with the Terminator tank. Obviously, a 3 for 6 is low value, but a 3 for 6 that discards a card is very high value. So, yeah, he's not happy about this one. I think he's taking maybe a moment to cope. Cope with his loss, the loss of his setup turn that he had access to. You know, just going to take the bite out of this turn that should have been really powerful with Cerebellum Processor and the Boom Grenade. Yeah, it's just a Fast and Furious for 6. We've got a little bit of an awkward hand here, and I'm actually going to convert both Fabricates into block value. The reason why I'm doing this is because if I, let's say, pitch it to the bottom of my deck, I'm never going to get to the pitch stack. There's no point in saving it. I might as well just use it. If he ever ends the chain this turn, I can re-block, even though the armor will have 3, as you can see here. Even though the armor has 3, they still block for 2, which means that after the chain closes, they'll block for 1, meaning Temper won't activate. Meaning we get an extra activation out of it like this. It's going to actually be at -4 counters, as crazy as that sounds. And then yeah, on our turn, we're just going to take it slow. At any point in the game, I'm thinking like, how does what he is doing affect the actions that I need to be taking? So every time he throws out a card, every time he plays a card, every time I see a card hit the graveyard or vanish, I'm thinking like, what do I need to be doing differently? I didn't throw Leveler out there because Fiddler's Green is so good in this matchup. There's no point in sending it to the bottom of my deck. I like having it in my hand. I'm just trying to get defensive value. And here we see Polarity Reversal. This is essentially going to make it so that I can't block. Again, definitely not happy to see that one. He does have an extra AP here. Spark of Genius. It looks like he's taking a setup turn, which, you know, maybe Tim doesn't realize it yet, but a setup turn is amazing for us. If you look, we had that Pummel in hand, and that's now in Arsenal. We have our Terminator tank, and we can cast the Pummel and the Terminator tank. He's taking this amazing setup turn, a setup turn that surely would have done a ton of damage to us. And I'll just let this play out. Terminator tank for 6. It's innocuous. We're going to take the bite out of his turn again. Yeah. My condolences. I would not be happy. It is the most frustrating thing in the game when you are so happy with a 5-card hand and then they send Disruption your way. It is maybe the most tilting thing in the entire game. It looks like he really wants to keep something in his hand. Or maybe he sees that he's at 14 and he's worried about a Pummel. You if he was worried about a pummel, maybe he would have blocked more. Maybe he would have blocked 10. So maybe he just wanted to block and didn't feel like he could get value out of the max V. And then the pummel is devastating. You hate to see it. Block a card out of hand, block with 2 armor pieces, and then discard 2 cards is rough. Yeah, my condolences. He discards a boom grenade. The boom grenade was likely a brick in his hand. He wasn't going to be able to cast that. And the expedite, again, that's probably just going to be fodder. And you can see he pitches a cerebellum processor. So even though he took this huge setup turn, he actually probably wasn't going to be able to convert 5 cards that hand. So it's probably why he committed so much block. This next hand, I am looking at, no, that's not going to work, Tim. He's got that polarity reversal script, which makes it so that all of my actions block for 1 less. Yeah, so this turn, I'm just prepared to eat whatever damage he sends at me. It looks like he pulled a Teklo core off the top. And just a reminder, Teklo core makes his turn pitchless. So now it's extra pitchless, if he had like 2 max V, for instance, but we know that one of those is in the graveyard. So we also know that cerebellum processor is gone. Yeah, looks like he has 2 left in the deck just based on that quick showing, and then a heist for 7. This is maybe the worst card he could have sent here because we can't block it. Our hand blocks 1 from Fiddlers, 2+2 from Scrap Compactor and War Machine. And then he just gets an item for free from his banish here. The reason why that is bad is if he had, say, like a cerebellum processor in banish, he'd be getting that for free right now and extending his turn. But as far as things go, a broom grenade for free is not the end of the world. Yeah, and then some chip damage. Chip damage is fine, of course. Fiddlers will gain us a little bit of life. We're going to send some chip damage in return, and then Arsenal to Fabricate. We don't expect Fabricate to get a ton of value. I think it might have been a misplay not to just pitch it away. Because in the course of this game, I don't think that there's going to be an opportunity. Before this game is over, you'll notice he has 15 cards left. I don't think there's going to be an opportunity for us to get value out of this Fabricate anymore. And if I am in his position, I am starting to seriously consider whether it is even possible to kill me. You gotta think, when you're in his position, this guy blocks for infinity, so I need to set up a combo turn where the amount of cards in my hand is greater than the amount of cards in his hand. Obviously cerebellum processor. Or the value of his cards is higher than the value of my cards, which would be a max V. Ideally, you would combine both of those into a 5-card hand that casts max V at the end of it to really just do true damage. Yeah. He's getting really low. He pulls a cerebellum processor off the top. That is maybe the worst thing that could have happened. So now we're in the 5-card territory that I told you we are worried about. He's got a boom grenade. If he casts a max V this turn with his 2 floating mana, we are taking 13. That was out of nowhere, by the way. We would, we're just gonna try and block efficiently here. Unfortunately, this max V is going to come a little too late for him if it does happen here, because he does not have enough cards in deck to kill me anymore. Yeah, there's the max fee. This is coming in for 13. Ouch. Hurts a lot. I'll just go ahead and pause here and say that this game is over at this point. Go ahead and take a look, you know, as an exercise to the reader, right? Why is this game over? Even though he has a 4-card hand, he can only convert 2 of them. Boost requires, to give it go again, banishing a card from the top of the deck. If he can't banish a card, he can't convert his hand. So this game is over at this point. The most that he can convert 2 cards into is like 6 or 12 damage. Our hand blocks 6 or 12 perfectly. We're not worried about it. So, yeah. He obviously knows the writing is on the wall. I obviously know the writing is on the wall. We've played this matchup 100 times at this point. Yeah, he would have loved to see that penetration script earlier in the match. Got a little bit unlucky. You know, sometimes when you shuffle with Spark of Genius, it's all your good cards at the bottom. They're heavier, right? So they always end up at the bottom. Like in Teklo, you always end up with your Singularity as like the bottom 10 cards of your deck, because all the good cards sink down. So yeah, zipper hit. We're not afraid. We could block, you know, our whole hand for the next 4 turns, and still have enough deck damage to kill him, right? Symbiosis shot. Send it. We've got a Terminator tank with your name on it, so. And that's game. I hope that you had fun like I did. I always find playing against Dio is a fun experience. You know, that one turn that he had a max V out of that 5-card hand. It was only a 5-card hand, and he did 27. You can just imagine the setup turn that he had way earlier in the game could have been way worse than that. So, again, it's a fun matchup. I love Teklovossen as a hero. Obviously, he's my main. So, if you have any questions, if you thought it was interesting, the deck list will be in the description. I'll try and answer any questions in the comments, but thank you guys.